The radar return is no bigger than a golf ball moving at 115 miles per hour. On the face of the A/SPY-1DV radar array, it appears like a flickering ghost, but the Aegis combat system responds only to physics. 94 seconds before impact inside the Combat Information Center of an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, the atmosphere feels worlds away from the humid air of the Persian Gulf. Outside, track 7042 is moving at 100 knots. Its profile matches a loitering munition launched from Iranian Coastal Sector 4, the RIM-116. Rolling airframe missile tears off the rail with a sharp compressed roar. Mid-flight, its infrared seeker comes alive, searching for the heat created by friction along a fiberglass nose cone. 42 seconds before impact, the drone, a Russian-supplied Geran-2, has no defensive system, no pilot, and no ability to improvise. It has only a programmed route. The RIM-116 makes a 3-degree correction at Mach 2, roughly 1,534 miles per hour. The intercept happens just 3 meters from the ship. Its 25-pound fragmentation payload activates, releasing a dense cloud of tungsten pellets that tears the Russian-built airframe into thousands of fragments, shredded carbon fiber and vaporized fuel scattered in an instant. The Geran-2 is gone. The engagement chain immediately shifts to the next logical target. The entire sequence is fully integrated. For months, Western intelligence has been tracking a major change in the tactical balance of the Middle East. For years, the flow of loitering munitions moved in one direction, from Tehran to Moscow, supporting the conflict in Ukraine. Now that pipeline has reversed, the Kremlin is shipping Russian-adapted versions of the Shahed 136, known as the Geran-2, back to Iran. These shipments are more than hardware deliveries. They represent the transfer of Russian battlefield lessons, reinforced guidance systems, and localized production methods. Moscow dismisses these reports as fiction, insisting that no such military cooperation exists. But the wider defense network sees past the denial. Far above the cloud layer, the SBIRS satellite constellation watches for the distinctive heat signatures of Russia's heavy transport fleet. An Ilyushin OIL-76 lifts off from a military airfield near the Russian border. Inside its cargo bay are crates packed with modular drone components, including upgraded Russian guidance units fitted with the Kometa-M anti-jamming satellite receiver. Aegis tracks the Il-76 as it crosses the Caspian Sea and enters Iranian airspace. That data is fused instantly into the regional tactical picture. The network builds a digital twin of the supply route. Flight times are known, crate weights are known. Even the likely battery life of the guidance units being unpacked on the tarmac can be estimated. To picture the scale of this drone threat, imagine a fleet of used pickup trucks, each carrying a 100-pound payload, delivered to a launch zone the size of a football field. Each drone costs about $30,000 to build, less than the price of a mid-size SUV. Russia is not sending a precision scalpel, it is sending a blizzard. The strategic goal is simple: create an economic trap. They want the U.S. Navy to spend a $2.1 million standard missile, to bring down a drone that costs about $30,000 to build. It is a war of attrition dressed up as a high-tech contest, but the engagement network is built to solve the cost equation just as precisely as it solves the geometry of an intercept. Crates are tracked from the airfield to concealed launch points along the coastline. Every stop those trucks make is entered into a database shared across the fleet. Sensors aboard every F-35C Lightning II operating in the region add another pixel to the larger picture. The enemy's inventory is being watched in real time before a single engine ever turns over. The network has already assigned a layered, cost-conscious response to every airframe in that shipment. The surveillance continues as the crates are transferred onto mobile launch rails, often hidden inside what look like ordinary civilian shipping containers. To an untrained eye, it looks like routine trade. To an integrated defense network, it is a high-priority target set waiting for an action order. If you have ever maintained these systems in the Gulf heat, leave a comment below. Billions of dollars are spent to keep these sea lanes open and global energy prices from spiraling out of control for American families. Do you think that investment delivers the security it is meant to provide? We read every comment, and we are grateful for your service and your perspective. The launch begins at 3:14 local time. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps uses a saturation tactic with newly supplied Russian inventory. In just 3 minutes, they launch 40 Geran-2 and Shahed 136 drones in a compressed wave. The objective is simple: overload the ship's radar processing capacity, generate so many tracks that real threats become harder to prioritize. The drones rise from their launch rails like a swarm of angry mechanical insects. Flying at only 150 feet, they skim the waves to remain below the radar horizon of land-based sensors. On the bridge of the USS Gerald R. Ford, the mood is not panic, but disciplined clinical focus. The ship's dual-band radar detects the swarm the moment the drones clear the coastal dunes. Aegis begins sorting instantly. It identifies 40 separate tracks and assigns each one a unique digital identity. It calculates 40 separate intercept points using wind speed, humidity, and drone velocity. Threat level, high. Engagement logic, layered defense. The first layer responds without a visible flash. The AN/SLQ-32V7 Electronic Warfare Suite goes to work. The Surface Electronic Warfare Improvement Program fills the sky with high-gain digital interference, aimed specifically at the Russian Kometa M GPS receivers inside the drones. This is the soft disruption phase. For 12 of the drones, navigation suddenly collapses. Their internal gyroscopes, cut off from a reliable satellite signal, begin to drift. Within seconds, they lose orientation. 4 of them bank hard and plunge into the sea just 5 miles from the coast. 3 more, flying on degraded guidance, slam into each other in midair, scattering sparks and carbon fiber into the darkness. But 28 drones remain, now just 30 miles from the carrier strike group. An Arleigh Burke-class destroyer screening the formation begins its kinetic response. It does not open with the most expensive option. It follows the sequence principle, matching the right tool to the right range and the right cost. The ship fires the RIM-162, Evolved Sea Sparrow missile, its medium-range answer to the threat. The missile erupts from the vertical launch cell with a violent roar that shakes the deck plates and hums through the sailors' boots. Within seconds, it accelerates to Mach 4, more than 3,000 miles per hour. The RIM-162 carries a blast fragmentation warhead designed to detonate near the target and create a lethal envelope of high-velocity fragments. One missile bursts in the middle of a 3-drone formation. The energy release lands like a sledgehammer through glass. The drones are not just stopped, they are broken apart completely. In the first 12 seconds of missile contact, 8 targets disappear from the display. That leaves 20 drones crossing the 10-mile line, closing at roughly 170 feet per second. At this point, the engagement stops feeling abstract and starts feeling immediate. The ship's 5-inch Mark 45 gun swings toward the horizon, loaded with hypervelocity projectiles. Each round costs only a fraction of a guided missile, yet leaves the barrel at around 5,600 miles per hour. The sound of the gun is steady and physical, each shot pounding through the chest. Guided by the ship's fire control radar, the rounds burst directly along the drone's approach path, building a barrier of metal they cannot pass through. Fragments tear through fiberglass wings and punch into the small 2-stroke engines. 5 more drones drop into the waves, their fuel igniting as they fall. Now 15 drones remain, and they are inside 3 miles. This is the inner layer, the point defense zone. The Phalanx CIWS comes alive. Its white radome-covered tracking system locks onto the nearest target with frightening accuracy. The 6-barrel 20mm Gatling gun spins up to 4,500 rounds per minute. The sound is a single continuous growl vibrating through the steel of the ship. The first drone in line does not fall apart gradually. It is simply there one moment and gone the next, struck by roughly 50 rounds in less than half a second. It does not crash so much as turn into a cloud of fragments and fuel 1,000 yards from the hull. The Phalanx shifts instantly to the next drone, then the next. Its efficiency is mechanical and absolute. One drone slips through the stream of fire, helped by a random gust of air. It becomes the lone survivor, pushing to within 500 yards of the ship. But on the aft deck, the RIM-116 rolling airframe missile launcher is already locked on. The missile leaves the rail and covers that final distance in under a second. The intercept is so close that the bridge crew can see the orange flash as the drone's 100-pound payload ignites harmlessly over the water. Only 114 seconds have passed since the first radar lock. In that time, 40 incoming threats were detected, tracked, and engaged, ending with 40 confirmed intercepts. The U.S. Navy takes no casualties. The destroyer's deck is scattered with spent 20mm casings, the air thick with the smell of hot brass and propellant. Then, Aegis settles back into surveillance mode. The sequence wins because no single weapon can solve the whole problem alone. The network succeeds because it works like one connected organism. Satellites deliver the warning. Electronic warfare creates the first disruption. The layered weapons, from Sea Sparrow to the Gatling gun, deliver the final result. The Russian drones fail because they are operating as isolated pieces of hardware, not as part of a living network. They are individual systems trying to push through a fortress built on integrated, real-time data. And the U.S. Navy does not stop at defending the formation. In the logic of this network, stopping the attack is only the first half of the response. While the drone wave is being broken apart, a pair of F/A-18E Super Hornets from USS Gerald R. Ford are already orbiting at 30,000 feet. They are not searching for drones. They are searching for the launch point. Data from the earlier detection of the Russian shipment, the truck routes, and the thermal signatures of the launch rails is now flowing directly into the cockpit of the lead Super Hornet. This is the sensor-to-shooter link in action. The pilot does not have to hunt for the target. The ship has already handed it to him. Target acquired. Coordinates confirmed by Aegis. Under the wing of the F/A-18E, an AGM-154JSOW is ready to go. It is a GPS-guided glide weapon with a reach of about 70 miles, roughly the distance from Washington, D.C. to the outer edge of Baltimore. The pilot releases it, and it does not fall like a conventional bomb. Its wings deploy, and it begins a quiet, low-signature glide toward the Iranian coast, following a pre-planned route around known air defense coverage. On the ground, IRGC crews are working to reload their mobile launch rails with the next batch of Russian-supplied Garand drones. They believe they are secure, positioned 40 miles behind the coastline. The AGM-154 arrives without warning. There is no engine noise to announce it. It is simply there. Its 500-pound payload strikes the center of the staging area. The trucks, spare drone crates, and launch rails are wiped out in a single strike. Follow-on explosions move across the site as fuel stores ignite. From space, the network watches the heat bloom through SBIRS satellite coverage. Target neutralized, no collateral damage detected. Vectoring for carrier recovery, the F/A-18E Super Hornet banks hard and turns back toward the carrier. With that strike complete, the enemy loses any realistic chance of launching a second wave. A logistics chain that took Russia months to build is cut apart in less than 10 minutes. For the Kremlin, it becomes a costly gamble with no payoff. Millions of dollars and months of planning went into supplying Iran with advanced localized drone technology, all built around the idea that large numbers of low-cost systems could overwhelm the U.S. Navy's layered defenses. Instead, they ran into a smarter response built on software, coordination, and precision. The economic pressure strategy was answered with a carefully tiered mix of electronic warfare, 5-inch gun rounds, and close-in defense systems. The U.S. Navy used a far more efficient mix of tools to stop the swarm, turning the cost equation back on the attacker. This was not just a tactical success. It was a win in efficiency, timing, and resource management. That is the reality of the modern combat network. It is not only about who has the biggest weapon, it is about who has the fastest decision cycle. It is about making sure every Russian shipment and every Iranian launch is met with a response so efficient that the opponent runs out of resources before the fleet runs out of options. Now the IRGC commanders are left looking at burned-out launch positions and empty crates. The Russian technology they counted on did not come up short because of a simple hardware issue. It came up short because it was trying to solve a digital age problem with an outdated approach. In the balance sheet of modern warfare, that threat has been removed from the equation. The network stays ready, the sea lanes stay open, and the mission goes on.